Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB strategy show. Much better slate than yesterday. 11 games Tuesday. Dinger Tuesday across the industry from a betting perspective too. Actually, all of these sites are doing something for that. But yeah, I mean, yesterday was Matt, it was Eric and me for a 2 p.m. Eastern show. 3 games spread out across the entirety of the day, one of them being Coors Field. So I feel good getting back to a little bit of normalcy here.
Yeah, same. Yesterday's slate was awful for all intents and purposes. Today is not the most appealing from a pitcher perspective, but sometimes those slates are the most fun. So yeah, it's certainly excited to talk about this monster slate with you.
And I may need to get away from Twitter for a little bit. Listen, I love talking politics, but I do my best to stay out of it. On Twitter. But then election season rolls around and everyone's hair catches on fire. They crank the hyperbole up to 100 and they get rocket. And I think I may need to, you know what I might do, Matt? I might just mute terms. Not because I don't enjoy reading that stuff. I do. I like seeing people lose their minds, but because it consumes too much of my time. I think I may just need to mute everything, pretend it doesn't exist for a little bit.
Yeah, it's one thing to read it, I guess, but when you're starting to like hop in,
and I haven't been except one yesterday I couldn't stay away from.
And yeah, I totally get it. Man, it's tough though, because just reading it is so fun and funny most of the time.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting next few months, dude. I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good, but hey, we're not here to talk about that. Let's get into a little bit of baseball. Happy to have you guys with us as always. Back to a somewhat normal slate here. Yeah, we'll talk pitching, not the greatest. Yeah, hey, look. Oh, by the way, hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. Atone for your sins on a Tuesday morning. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 100K. Making that slow crawl. We stalled out a little bit, but you guys can help us get back there if you're new here. And if you want to listen to anything in podcast form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you need, we got you covered. All right, let's go. So 11 games. There's 4 of those 6 p.m., odd start times today. But there's also a Coors game on this slate between Dallas Keuchel and Ryan Feltner, Matt. So out of the gate, that's just going to be one of those spots that becomes pretty popular. Top stack probability, 18% for Milwaukee on an 11-game slate. No other team is north of 8.5%, which is crazy. And then you start looking at the pitching. I want to say, okay, so you say pitching isn't that good. There are good pitchers on this slate. It's more so that a lot of the matchups aren't that good, or are certain pitchers like Louis Heel starting to wear down. I mean, that's a big one. Even Boom was like, yeah, that's clearly the question right now. Is he tired? The guy has never thrown close to this many innings in such quick succession as he has. But let's be honest. If Louis Heel, let's think of it this way. You guys in chat too. Tell me what your thoughts are. But Matt, if Louis Heel didn't have back-to-back brutal starts against Baltimore and the Mets, this guy would look fucking fantastic tonight against the Reds team that is below average on the active roster. WOBA, ISO, WRC plus against righties, around average in ISO, but every third highest K rate against righties on the active roster. This spot would look great if Louis Heel was not coming off 2 starts that make you scratch your head and wonder if something's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. The problem is he did have those 2 starts, so there's a lot of concern in spending 9,800 on a pitcher who, coming into this season, wasn't proven and has thrown back-to-back negative fantasy point starts. Like those type of starts at 9,800, really at any price point on a slate like this, will kill your lineups. So I'm not overly surprised that the field is backing away much more so than they would have a week ago. But I'm also not surprised he's projected to get ownership just because of the context of this slate. You're right. There are good pitchers on the hill tonight, no doubt about it. But most of the good pitchers are in risky matchups, and there aren't that many good pitchers going. There's a handful of them. So it's not the worst pitching slate in the world. Certainly there's, double-digit games. So we've got some good options. It's just not that deep, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't disagree. What I'm saying is I wonder what Louis Hill ownership would look like if he had been crushing
40%.
right? Feels that way. I mean, ultimately, you have a bunch of guys that just aren't going to be popular at all. Right.
And the way I look at it with Heel, you're totally right. Right now, George Kirby, who's good, is projected to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate against Baltimore. And I get it. He's 8,700, a little bit of a discount, but I'm right there with you. Like, if this slate were 2 weeks ago, before Heel had struggled, he'd be 50% owned here, maybe.
One thing about Kirby, though, I know I've mentioned it a lot, but look up George Kirby's home and road splits, not just this year, but in previous years. I mean, this guy dominates at home, and not just in easy matchups either. Like, he ran through the Houston Astros. He's had a few difficult matchups at home, and he's just really crushed. The only tough start he's had all year at home was against Cleveland, his second start of the year back in the beginning of April. So there is something at 8,700 to me that's like, all right, well, I do understand it. He is a phenomenal pitcher. And there were problems early in the year. He was pounding the strike zone too much. He's fixed a lot of that. That was one of the things. When you pound the strike zone, it's a good thing, but not to the point where like nobody's guessing anymore, and it certainly appears that he's fixed a lot of that. He's been excellent. He's been even better at home. Seriously, his home road splits are fantastic.
All these Seattle pitchers are like that.
Right. I mean, look, it's the most pitcher-friendly park from a power perspective in baseball, more so even than San Francisco.
Yeah, I like Kirby here a lot. It's still Baltimore, though. So that kind of
I get
plays, like it's not the safest spot in the world by any means.
No, it's not. All I'm saying is you're going to have to get to some George Kirby today. I don't think you have that many alternatives. On the other side is Grayson Rodriguez against a high strikeout team in the same park. So I understand all of it. I don't think pitching is terrible. Jose Soriano is an interesting one because he had that abdominal thing and he was on the he was on the IL. But he's coming off. Could he be limited? Sure. But when I looked at his props, you wouldn't think this was a guy that was going to be terribly limited on a spot like this. He's 7,500, low total for the Oakland A's. Right now, I'm just pulling it up on Odd Shopper. So he has a 5.5K prop. The under's juiced, but still a 5.5K prop on Soriano, and you'd think that if that's the case, there's the ability to pitch relatively deep. He also wasn't on the IL for long, right? He literally was down for like 11 days.
Yeah, he got sent on June 20th. So
right,
he stands out in terms of the top pitcher tool. I was looking at him, last night when I saw the slate came out. Just a really good price point in a very good matchup in a great park. So, yeah, you have maybe a little bit more concerns that he's coming off the IL than you otherwise, might. But as you said, he was only there for like a week. He probably missed 1, maybe 2 starts, I would have to imagine. And he's just in maybe the best spot on the slate. So I'm with you on Soriano. I'm also with you on Grayson Rodriguez. It's a matchup thing. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, it seems like. Anyone that has a pulse against Seattle is in play, and Rodriguez is a damn good pitcher.
Yeah, particularly righties too. Wow, a lot of comments and questions in chat about the old spaghetti head here against Toronto. All right, well, let's talk about it. I mean, yesterday, Hunter Brown, again, another great start. 6 scoreless, 2 hit innings. He walked some guys, 5 strikeouts, really solid. Toronto stinks right now. I don't know if Vlad's going to be back in the lineup. I mean, he wasn't even available to pinch hit yesterday. So we'll see. The question about, first of all, just to be clear, Brown's a lot better than Arrighetti. Arrighetti's coming off a phenomenal start against Colorado in Houston. Everybody should be great against Colorado. But all in all, he hasn't been great. 7,600. What's his ownership look like? 3%?
Not much. Yeah.
Do you look at him as a viable pivot off a popular Soriano, off a relatively popular Simeon Woods Richardson? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
I don't hate that, especially like you mentioned, if Vlad is out. So Toronto seemed like they had gotten going a little bit over the past week, but Vlad was the main guy there. He had been on fire. You know, obviously I don't care too much about one guy in the lineup, but he's their best hitter, and this lineup has underwhelmed all year. My biggest problem with Arrighetti on a slate like this is Toronto just doesn't strike out a lot. But all of a sudden you take Vlad out of the lineup, it gets easier. We'll see what type of lineup the Jays are running out there. And yeah, I don't think he looks like, honestly, all that much different from Woods Richardson or Soriano. I think that if all these guys were in the same exact matchup, I'd play Arrighetti first. So they're not in the same matchup. And so I don't like him the best. But I think that says something, that I think he's the best DFS pitcher right now of all of them.
Who is?
Arrighetti.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a tough strikeout matchup. Like even yesterday, Brown only had 5, right? He was
finished, I think he finished with 5 or 6. He struck out the side in his last inning also.
Yeah, he had 5 to close it. 4%, sure. We have him positively leveraged. Let me see if I get to any of him.
I mean,
go ahead.
My thing about Arrighetti and why I've been okay with him in the past starts, obviously I wasn't expecting what he did last time, but his numbers aren't good. 5.68 ERA, but a 4.14 expected is clearly a lot better. 350 WOBA, 321 expected WOBA, and he's striking out 25.5% of hitters. Not like elite, but I think that puts him in play. Like in good matchups, he'll look good and he'll be popular. And in not good matchups like today, he won't project great, but I think he's in play in tournaments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see it. Rob Live, Soriano will go under here in a terrible matchup. How's it a terrible matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Gallen I know Gallen's Gallen, but he was coming back from a long IL stint, and Brandon Pfaadt both carved this A's lineup.
Well, they have the second highest K rate in the league.
Yeah. I don't even know why I mentioned those two guys, because every righty carves them.
Yeah, it's not a bad matchup at all. I mean, if your thinking is, if he said we'll go under, if you're thinking it's under on strikeouts, maybe, if anything, that'd be because he's limited. But I mean, no, this is a spectacular strikeout spot for sure. Only Seattle strikes out more. Only Seattle. I don't know, but yeah, I guess a 3% Arrighetti is fine. I'm personally not getting much. I'm looking at my exposures right now. This is a 10% payout to first. 150 selected lineups. Kirby, Heel, Soriano, Rodriguez, Woods Richardson, Dylan Cease. Those are my top 6 guys. Nobody really pulling away with it. Dylan Cease is another interesting one, though, because what has Texas really done to scare us at all? The only thing with them, similarly to Toronto, but even to a more extreme, they strike out at the 3rd lowest clip versus righties in the year. Do you know what their ISO is? Their ISO versus right-handed pitching, active roster, is 129, dude. That's the 2nd lowest in the entire league.
So for much of the beginning of the year, we had talked about how bad Texas had been against left-handed pitching. Well, during June, they were awful against everyone. I mean, last in the league in homers, like bottom 5 in basically every offensive category against right-handed pitching in June. I'm not buying that like for the long term, because we know they have better hitters in their lineup. But it does make a guy like Dylan Cease, who you could argue is, if not the best, right behind Skubal as the best DFS pitcher on the slate, that maybe it isn't as scary a matchup as one might think. For me, it's the price tag thing. And like, they still don't strike out a lot. And I have more faith in this offense than how they've played recently.
All right, well, if you don't buy a long-term, what's long-term? We're in July.
Yeah, I know you're right. I mean, long-term can mean all sorts of different things.
Sure.
I just
You're
have
saying
to.
You still think they're not as bad as we've seen. I get it.
Right. Like this year, and you know how baseball usually works out. Like we're so far into the season, we're a little bit over halfway that, guys who are having really tough years might not have numbers that resemble their career numbers. But most of the time in baseball, stuff evens out. So the back of the baseball card looks pretty much the same. And I expect guys like Seager, Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien to have much better second halves than they've had first halves. Now, that might not happen. Semien looks like he might be hurt. Adolis Garcia, can't hit his way out of a box right now. So I don't know exactly what to make of Texas, to be quite honest.
Yeah, what's happened to Garcia?
Yeah, I don't know, because he's been awful.
This will be the day that he goes nuts.
Of course.
They
just went nuts on Sunday Night Baseball the other night.
I was going to say, he's been better lately. Like the power surge appears to be returning at least a little bit. The power's coming back. Maybe you're right. Maybe they do turn it around. But on the year, they have really struggled. Dylan Cease has been good. He's expensive. The thing, though, is like he's expensive. Even if this, I think what both of us are saying, too, is that you look at Texas and you go, all right, they've been pretty bad. But you still, even though the numbers would kind of mirror some of these other terrible teams, you don't ever feel comfortable putting them in the same ballpark as like the Rockies or the White Sox. You know what I mean? Yeah,
totally. It's exactly what I'm trying to say. And then to take it a step further, it's like I'd be fine using a pitcher against Texas, but 10-3 Cease, like the second most expensive pitcher on the slate, I don't think he's a bad play. I just don't think he's a priority for me.
Again, there are good pitchers on this slate. It's just the price points and matchups. Like, what about Skubal?
Yeah, Minnesota has been a lot better offensively. They've been good all year against left-handed pitching. Skubal reminds me of Cease here. I prefer Skubal. If both were in the same matchup, I think Skubal is like the more consistent pitcher, but not by a ton. Both of these guys are top-tier DFS starting pitchers, and the matchup's better for Cease here. I think it's just a price thing on both these guys. Like, I don't think either of them has higher upside than Gil, Rodriguez, or Kirby, really. So I don't want to spend that much on them when there's, clearly expensive stacks we want to get to.
That is worth pointing out, right? Like, yeah, okay. Kirby has a tough matchup, but he's also almost $2,000 cheaper than those guys, and they're not in great spots. They're not in great spots. Am I getting any Skubal? I don't think I'm getting like 5%. I really am. I'm above the field on Gil and Kirby and Soriano, and Grace, a little below on Grayson, but those are like my highest owned pitchers right now. Really, I think I'd probably just go. I think I'd prefer Grayson Rodriguez over Skubal or Cease, just taking the $1,000 discount.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like between Gil, Rodriguez, and Kirby. How do I rank them? I'm not sure as of right now. How do you rank them?
Between which ones?
Gil, Kirby, and Rodriguez.
Gil, Kirby, and Rodriguez. I think I still have to put Luis Gil first.
Okay.
And then probably Kirby, Rodriguez.
I think they're all very close, so I got no issues with that.
Only because that price point on Kirby is very nice. Really nice. It's a great park. We already know too. Like Baltimore is not a great righty power park, yet those guys still crush the baseball at Camden Yards. That's not lost on me at all. But 87, put it this way. Kirby in any matchup at home is not an $8,700 pitcher. It's really just that simple. Like if he's at home, he's not an $8,700 pitcher.
I totally agree with that. It is just, I can't remember a time all year. This might be the only slate we'll have where a pitcher against Baltimore on a slate like this size is projected to be the highest owned.
Yeah.
I get it though. It's the price thing.
If you're not worried about Luis Gil, as far as like the last two performances have gone, he should be your top option. If you're not worried about those, this guy should be your top option.
Yeah, he probably is my top option because I'm in tournaments. I'm looking for upside, and I think he has the highest upside of any pitcher on this slate. I don't know how you could not be concerned at all after the last two starts, but doesn't really matter. I'm still going to play him. You're getting an ownership discount now because of that. And I get both sides of it. Like, he's unproven. He walks way too many hitters. Whenever a guy puts runners on base, there's always the risk of giving up, 2-3 run home runs, which just kill you. But he's got very good strikeout upside. His underlying numbers are still excellent. So I'm with you on Heel. I think his upside is second to none on this slate at that price in this matchup. And then going all the way to the bottom, I know we talked about Arrighetti, Woods, Richardson, and Soriano. I'm surprised at the lack of ownership and projection love on Mitch Spence. The Angels are not good against right-handed pitching, and he gets the same ballpark that Soriano does.
7% owned
On a slate with real expensive bats at 6,600. Like, I'm fine with that.
Let me look him up real quick. %20 K rate, 6% walks, 379 xFIP. Yeah, the numbers don't look bad.
Yeah, he's not like it's not really a play on Mitch Spence either. It's just the matchup and a pricing on a slate this size when you can poke holes in a lot of pitchers. So it's not like I'm vouching for Mitch Spence all that much. It's just the circumstance of the slate.
I get what you're saying. And truthfully, he's had a few good enough outings. Not great, but good enough. Angels are no good. Both of these teams, last I looked, when I put the run sheet together for this game, had like 4.1 totals, which is pretty low. Good park for pitching. Yeah, I get it. What about some of the other cheap options? Like, you're not going to Michael Mercado. You're not going to Graham Ashcraft. Zach Littell just hasn't been great. Ryan Nelson against the Dodgers. Dallas Keuchel. Ryan Feltner. You pretty much just cross a lot of these guys off the list. What about in that middle range? Like, we talked about all the guys at the top of ownership. We don't need to talk about some of these guys at the bottom. What about some in the middle?
Like Wesneski, are you talking about? Or like who specifically? Ronaldo Lopez?
Yeah, as far as ownership goes, like, do any of those guys stand out?
I was looking at Lopez a little bit. Like, he's been phenomenal this year, and it's a good matchup against the Giants at home. Now, the Giants have gotten going a little bit lately, and they get a big ballpark upgrade. So I'm sure they'd much rather have this game be in San Francisco. But him getting, 10% ownership, like less than all the guys priced above him and all the guys priced around him, that's intriguing to me. Other than that, there really isn't anyone it's weird. It's either pitchers are getting a good amount of love today or they're not really getting any love. The only pitchers in the middle in my mind are the two pitchers in the Minnesota game, Singer and Woods Richardson, who are both, between not Singer, Skubal and Woods Richardson, who are both between 10 and 15% owned. Other than that, seems like the field is really concentrating on all the guys we've discussed. I'm not sure that there is anyone else that's worth even deep diving on.
No interest in the old Songbird?
Nah, not in this matchup in Atlanta. I mean, no.
It's a great name.
So good. How did that come to be,
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the origins of that. I really couldn't.
Same.
It'd make more sense if he was Native American or something. You'd be like, all right, well,
Totally.
right?
Totally. Good call. Yeah.
But his name's Hayden.
He's definitely not Native American.
I don't think so. I don't know what he looks like, but my guess is no. Plus, that would be his first name. But no, look, I don't see many there. I think and plus, when I look at my exposures, it's kind of in lockstep with what you were just saying. I'm always willing to get different in these spots. By the way, I do have 10% Mitch Spence. So currently, above the field, not crazy. 15% Wisniewski. That's what I'm saying. Like 15% Woods Richardson, but a lot of it's going to Kirby, Heel, Soriano, and Grayson Rodriguez. So that really the cheap option there is Soriano. The two expensive ones are Heel and Rodriguez, and then Kirby's kind of like a upper mid-range option.
Yeah, I think the only guy I'm kind of surprised at how much love Soriano's getting, but then I'm not really because of the matchup in the ballpark. And then Wisniewski, I was like, I'm kind of surprised 7% of people are going there, but then I remember the Phillies lineup right now. Like, it's a lot worse than it usually is. I mean, just you take out two of the premier hitters in DFS, and it's not like they're replacing them with anyone good either.
I don't really remember the last time the Phillies were a dog, and they're dogs today in Chicago.
Interesting. Against Hayden Wisniewski. That's surprising.
Right. Exactly. And I'm sure it's happened a lot this season, and I just, you know what I mean? Whatever, don't really remember. But it hasn't been a lot, put it that way.
I bet it has not been a lot because they have such good pitching and their lineup's usually so good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're exactly. So like even if you've got two of these pitchers, you know, you got a guy that that is just going to make spot starts because Walker went down and then Turnbull went down. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, so they need somebody. Still, you know, if that whole offense was healthy, because you're down like three of your top guys, it's a big deal. Winds are blowing out to left field, though, at Wrigley, 13 miles per hour. So 9.5 run total in this game. I don't really see anyone else. I like Jose Barrios, but you're not playing him against Houston, a low strikeout team and he's not a strikeout pitcher. That spot just doesn't look very good. Any interest in someone like Brady Singer?
No, I think that he's kind of right on the outskirts for me. So I don't think he's an atrocious play, but there's also big weather concerns in that game. So it's like, why bother?
We have him highly leveraged. I'm still not really getting there. And it's the price point. I think if Brady Singer was like mid 7K, it'd probably be different, but you know, he's north of $8,000. It's tough.
Yeah. And it's the only game with weather concerns I'm looking at.
How bad does it look right now?
It doesn't look great. Looks like even if they start on time, there's no guarantee they finish. Storms hanging around KC all night.
Okay. Evaldi's getting no ownership either.
It's just really hard to use pitchers against San Diego. They don't strike out, and they're good. They're not amazing, especially without Tatis, but they don't strike out and they're not awful. So it's just hard to get there at 9K.
It is. You kind of just get funneled naturally to those guys we talked about first. You're muted.
Fuck. My bad. So Eovaldi's like the perfect example.
You couldn't have left it muted when you said fuck.
Sorry, yeah, that was anywho. So Eovaldi's a perfect example of the pitcher you were talking about at the beginning of the show. Like he's good, but he's just not in a good matchup. You put Eovaldi in Soriano's matchup, and he's the most popular pitcher on the slate.
Right, exactly. We could talk some bats as well. Let's get into it. And by the way, you guys want to check the Sims out, you already know where to get it. Links in the description and in the chat. You want to try a week, a month, doesn't matter. Just a perfect time for baseball to try it. Like if you wanted to get in on a week, check it out for yourself. Just build good lineups very, very quickly. Be able to use the late swap tool, the post-contest simulator, the simulator itself. And look, you can do ROI boost. You can do a lot of different things. Set exposure caps. We just keep adding features to make it more customizable and better for you guys. But I did the Hall of Fame segment with Jordan on Friday before he left for Ireland, and we had a 200,000 winner. We had a 60K winner, a 50K winner. These are all just people with the avatar using the Sims. We had 3 10K winners and like 4 of 5K and up just over the last week. So it's working. And some were MMA, some were PGA, some were baseball. If you want to get in and check it out, perfect time, because you're going to have big slates all Thursday, 4th of July. Huge slate today. Huge slates tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Perfect. Like get yesterday over with. Now you've just got every team playing for the next week. So yeah, check it out. Link in the description and in chat. If you ever have any questions, hit me up too on Twitter. I'm happy to answer them. Or if you sign up, jump in the Discord. We have tutorials for all of these things out there. So the learning curve won't be much for you if you're going to check it out. But we'd love to have you over there. Say hi in Discord. All right. Einsteinium, what's up, brother? Tell me why the Braves are the best stack to get to today. Let's pull it up, man. I mean, I assume that's just you saying they are, right? Because the tools would suggest otherwise. But I don't see why we wouldn't want to get to the Braves. Now, I have a couple of other spots. Braves are my third highest exposed team against the old Songbird, Matt. I mean, if there was a reason to want to get to the Braves, well, there's two. First off, they have one of the highest totals on this slate. Take Coors out of this for a moment. They have a north of 5 total. I think 5.1 last time I looked against Birdsong in Atlanta. Always generally good weather. Winds, I think they're blowing in from center at 10 miles per hour. But we have them with the 4th highest stack score in the top stack tool. And we have them positively leveraged. So yeah, they look good.
They look good, but they don't stand out on this slate. Like they look good, like the Cubs look good and the Dodgers look good. But it's a slate where we haven't seen one of these that much this year where the visiting Coors team looks so good, but they're so expensive that they're not getting a ton of ownership. So it's an interesting slate in that regard. I think the Braves are always in play, as you mentioned. Certainly when they're going to be low owned in tournaments, they always have high upside. I just don't think that they look any different from teams like the Dodgers or the Cubs or the Phillies, as I mentioned. A lot of these teams look pretty similar.
How much do you like a team like the Cubs today?
I don't think as much as the field does. They haven't been good. Mercado's certainly an unknown, but he's been good in the minors. Like, I know that you throw any major league pitcher in the minors and they'll be really good, but it's at least encouraging to see that he's been decent. And certainly I wouldn't be surprised if he's better than Taijuan Walker right now. And they're getting ownership. So I don't really love the Cubs here. Like, I'd much rather get to the Brewers than the Cubs getting the same exact ownership right now, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I just want to look at some of these price points.
Milwaukee is expensive.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Wait, you have Milwaukee and the Cubs getting the same ownership?
Yes, right now they're projected. Yeah.
Do I need to update this?
Maybe, yeah.
Yes, I do. Okay. Wow. That's pretty shocking. If there's one thing that's surprising to me, it's that Colorado isn't getting more ownership. I know they're bad, Matt. Like you and I, we agree on this every time. They're not good. We all know that. Okay. But Dallas Keuchel is, I mean, essentially a corpse at this point. Get this man on the debate stage. Am I right?
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
His first start back against Texas. I saw his name. I went, Dallas Keuchel. 4 innings, 5 earned, two home runs. He's not a strikeout pitcher. Yes, he's always done an above average job at generating ground balls. But I mean, what if he's just still awful? I mean, and that's probably what we should be expecting, is it not? Like, should we be expecting anything other than Dallas Keuchel not being good at all?
I don't know how you could expect anything else. I'm a little bit surprised at that too. I'm also surprised they don't have a higher top stack percentage because of all that as well. So I'm right there with you.
Let me say, I just want to see the price points on some of these Rocky bats.
The Colorado's not cheap, but they're not exorbitantly priced like Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, and they're not good. I understand that, but they had, all right. Yeah, they're not super cheap. There's a few guys that are up there. They also have a, what is it, a 5-7 implied total? Like they have the second highest total on the slate. It's just kind of funny to me how the Rockies, what's the ownership share? We got them like what, fifth in ownership?
Something like that, yeah.
Sixth.
Damn, I just updated the top pitcher tool, and Mitch Spence's ownership has doubled.
Well, you were spot on there then.
Yeah, it's not shocking just because of how this slate is priced.
What moved as a result then?
Well, Eovaldi also went up a considerable amount.
Keel came down a bit. Eovaldi.
Singer.
Go ahead.
He was already projected low. Woods Richardson went down.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what Rodriguez went up.
Kirby went up a little bit.
Huh. Yeah, I don't see anything like any dramatic changes there at all. It looks pretty.
It's now the difference is even more like now you really have the pitchers getting ownership, and now there's like half the slate isn't getting any love. So as you mentioned, you're really funneled. I would be cautious about playing Mitch Spence in the Brewers.
You think that's just going to be popular?
Yeah, I think that's why Mitch Spence is getting love.
Yeah. It's a good call.
I'm kind of with you on the Rockies, though. Like, I definitely think Feltner is a better pitcher right now than Dallas Keuchel. And yeah, Milwaukee is certainly the better offense. But I also feel like people want to play this spot. So, like, maybe they won't be as highly owned as they should be in 5-man stacks, but all their good hitters will be owned on Milwaukee, that is.
Right. It's kind of just, the question's more so when's the last time Dallas Keuchel was respectable? When's the last time he was good? Seriously.
Last time he was good was honestly probably 2015. Last time he was respectable was probably
2020.
Yeah. And it's
been a long time since he was.
And he barely threw in 2020.
Right. 63 innings, but yeah, not a lot. He hasn't been good in a while. So I'm not just taking this from one start this season. I'm saying in general, he just hasn't been good. I mean, would you be shocked? Yeah. I bet if we looked at his minor league stats from this year, he wasn't exactly mowing people down.
There's no way. Yeah. I think I looked at him before his last start and they were not great. So he got traded from the Mariners to the Brewers for $1.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing else?
It's something like that. Yeah.
It almost makes me feel bad for the guy. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. He's not good. I'm looking at his minor league this year. He's got a 4 ERA in the minors. So yeah.
It was $1.
That's crazy.
That's so good.
Also giving up some power. I don't know. We don't have to get too deep into that. I'm just saying Colorado has a 5-6 implied total. So they're interesting to me, if nothing else. Dodgers too. I mean, against Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson gives up power. The pricing on these guys, maybe that is why, like you said, Mitch Spence has just come up so much because good Homer Park in LA. The Dodgers are so expensive. Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, Hernandez, all of them $5,400 or higher. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's not just them either. The Yankees too. I think the Yankees and Dodgers are pretty comparable on this slate. The Yankees are getting more love because they're cheaper, but up top, they're not. I mean, Judge and Soto against Ashcraft look great. Certainly, there's a lot of expensive bats to get to today, no doubt. I think Spence might even end up in the 20% ownership range.
Man, okay, so you have the Rockies against Keuchel at Coors. You have the Brewers against Feltner at Coors. You have the Dodgers against Ryan Nelson. You have the Yankees against Graham Ashcraft. You have that game in Wrigley with wind blowing out between two, pitchers that don't scare you at all. There's a lot here. I mean, it's kind of a pick your poison type of spot at this rate.
I kind of like Philly. I think Philly is going to get way, way under-owned here. I know we have them projected for similar ownership as like the Brewers and those other teams. I don't see it, especially in like higher dollar stuff. Like people are not going to be stacking the Phillies like those other teams. They just won't.
It's not a bad call. Phillies are a lot cheaper now than they used to be. Granted, they're not as good, but without Harper, Schwarber, and Realmuto, there are a few bats that you can get to at a decent price. Like assuming Clemens is back in the lineup, he's hit righties well. He's 3,900, but they're still, it's funny because they actually are still expensive, all things considered. Like Turner's 6K, Bohm's 5,800, Bryson's 4,900, even Castellanos 4,400. So if you're stacking Philly outside of the bottom, not full bottom of the order, but yeah, like Marsh and Clemens will probably be staples in those type of stacks, assuming that they have decent spots in the order.
100%. I think Marsh could end up getting love anyways, like just if he's hitting cleanup again, but
he should too. He should.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Like they are overpriced here, but on slates like this, I don't mind that because I think their price tags are just going to keep so many people away when there's other teams that look a little bit better on paper that are similarly priced, that the Alec Bohms and Trey Turners of the world are just going to kind of fall through the cracks a bit.
Stephen Leibowitz, I like Ashcraft over 2.5 earned runs on pick 6. Is that what it's at? Wow. 2.5 earned. Let's see. Yeah. On DraftKings too, -140. I mean, pretty much everywhere, as a matter of fact. Juice to the over, but nothing. Yeah. Don't hate that. Don't hate that at all, Steven. We should do some homer plays before we get out of here, Matt. Can always
I'm
give
down
you
for that.
Yeah. When we do these shows, by the way, just come. I'll tell you now. I should be telling you offline, but just come with a couple spots.
Oh,
like.
yeah. Yeah, we talked about it last show. Remember the Juan Soto and he ended up homering?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it would have made a difference because the community one didn't come through. I had Devers who ended up homering as well. Neither of whom homered off the starting pitchers that we had either, right? I don't think Soto was against Kikuchi.
Yeah, I don't think it was either, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, and Devers was against the Bull. We'll take it. We'll take it. That would have, yeah, that's why you bet him straight. You know what I like today? It's not on this slate. I really like Naylor and Ramirez today against Chris Flexen. Just a ton of power, ton of fly balls, hard contact, perfect launch angle for Chris Flexen against lefty bats. Winds blowing out, 5.7 team total. I know it's on the earlier 6 o'clock slate, but Naylor or Ramirez look pretty good. I got Ramirez at 320 earlier. My guess is that's probably come down on FanDuel, but we got to do homers because it's Dinger Tuesday on FanDuel and it's a great promo and the people like it.
I'm in.
So what do you got? Give me Ramirez. Hold on, let me see what the odds are now because maybe you're getting better odds on. All right, yeah, he's still at 320. Naylor's at 340. I like either of those guys today for 2 reasons as well. With Dinger Tuesday, you're getting $5 bonus bets for every homer hit in that game. So your guy might not hit a homer, but if you put a $25 bet on it and there's 5 homers hit in that game, it's $25. If he does homer, you get paid out and you get the $25 or however many bonus bets you get based on homers. 5.7 implied total for Cleveland. White Sox bullpen gives up a lot of home runs, 3rd most in baseball. And Carlos Carrasco is not very good anymore. He gives up pop as well, even though it's a pretty good matchup for him. So I like that on both fronts. I have Ramirez, but I'll probably lock Naylor in at plus 340 as well. Best odds are on FanDuel for both of them too.
I'm going to go with O'Neal Cruz at plus 475, also not on this slate.
Okay. Who's he going up against?
Kyle Gibson.
Oh, okay. All right. Einsteinium's got Sean Murphy. Rob has Yelich. Steven has Verdugo. Thomas has Hoskins. All right. Boys chiming in on this one. Good. I mean, ultimately, as long as the odds are, first of all, get the best odds on whatever site you're on. If you're doing Dinger Tuesday, at least make sure they're comparable. Like, let's see Rhys Hoskins here. Hoskins to hit a home run. Yeah, like plus 370 on Caesars. FanDuel's plus 350. We have the true odds at plus 420. That would be a tough one to get to. Verdugo, I'll look these up for you guys. You can go on the live odds page on OddsShopper, by the way. It's 100% free. Do it yourself. Verdugo, home runs. Damn, plus 900 on Caesars. We have plus 998 true odds. Who else did these guys say? Yelich. You got anybody else you like, Matt?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. In that same game, this is nuts, that you talked about the Nailers or Naylor and Ramirez. Give me Nicky Lopez at plus 1750.
Oh, yeah. All right. Look, it's a great hitting environment in that game. Plus,
Carrasco.
What's that?
Cookie Carrasco on the hill.
Yeah. And you just benefit, you actually benefit from the fact that Cleveland has a 5.7 total. Because if they hit home runs, you benefit from all of that as far as the bonus. Just make sure to opt in. Make sure to opt in. At OddsShopper, we have a couple actual plus EV spots on homers right now for FanDuel. Trey Turner, plus 420. We have the true odds at plus 412. Castellanos as well. Slight EV, nothing crazy on those spots. Lane Thomas. Who's going for New York today? Is it Manaea? I can't remember because I haven't
It's
even
Manaea.
looked at it. It is Manaea. Arenado, Bohm, all of those. Slight EV. Not bad. But yeah, I mean, I love doing you get if you're on Caesars too, multiple tickets, you get 2 profit boost vouchers, they call them or whatever, 25% homer profit boosts over there as well. DraftKings has one where every homer hit on the day in every game, you're getting, I think it's like up to a $3 bonus bet per. Mine's 50 cents. But some of them were like $2-3, which is actually an amazing promo because I think you only have to bet like $15 on a homer, Matt, and then you get some people get a $2-3 bonus bet for every homer hit on, not in that game, but on the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It just depends what size bonus they're giving you. That could be better than Dinger Tuesday. All right, so you're going O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, I'm going O'Neal Cruz.
I'll lock in Ramirez, but if you wanted to tell me it was Naylor, either one of those, perfectly happy with that. Perfectly happy there. Francisco said really like Jock today. Yeah, I could see that. Good homer part.
Yeah, Bobby Miller's been awful.
Yeah. And that's it. People forget how good of a home run park that really is out there in LA. It's a good park.
Yeah, I expect he'll turn it around, and he's got an elite strikeout upside, but he just got destroyed by the White Sox. And prior to that, it was another team that really got to him. I don't think Arizona's the worst stack on tonight's slate at all.
No, and he's been giving up some pop as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can get on board with that. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're not able, by the way, to bet home runs, Sleeper is like the one pick'em site out there where you can, because they have the dynamic pricing, the payout multipliers. So essentially, like if you were to grab, what did we say? Ramirez at, say it was plus 300. you get a 3x multiplier on that, right? So then you can throw that into your lineup and build them out that way. I'm not suggesting you do all homers, but homers are there at Sleeper. 100% first match deposit bonus. Link in the description and in chat. It's instant too. You're instantly getting that bonus. They do a bunch of free squares over there on top of that. I believe they have one today. If you're a new user, actually I know they do because they do it every day for new users. You get the free square, you get the sign up bonus, but the dynamic pricing, allows you to take more than just standard odds. You can do home runs, stolen bases, doubles, triples, all that stuff. And then of course, as football and basketball rolls around, you've got all of those as well. But check it out. Link down there. If you're looking to get in on the action we talk about here outside of DFS, it's a great place to do it if you're not in a legal state for betting. Follow Matt, Fantasy Tips Matt, _D. Shout out to Jacob D for producing today's show, and we'll catch you back here tonight, live before a lock for an 11 gamer. Good luck, guys. Peace.